Hello, Catherine.
Hi, Luciana. You look
Excuse
great.
me.
I like your hair up. I like it down too, but
Oh,
that's good.
this is just a last minute. Oh my God, what do I do with my hair? Oh, I'll just throw it up on top of my head. We'll be all good, right?
Right,
How
right.
have you been this week? I haven't talked to you much this
No,
week.
no, you've been working hard.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, long days.
yeah.
That's all
Uh,
right.
well, we've got a difficult topic, and I've tried to enlist people who are more technical than I am uh, to give us a little bit more about the background of what the problem is. But as we always do, we on this broadcast we don't focus on the problem; we focus on the solution. And
Right.
most
There's enough people focusing on the problem, exposing the problems, talking
right,
about it. Look what happened here. Look what's happening now. And
yes,
look what this person passed this code, and look what they're destroying now. And we can
mhm.
talk about it till the cows go home for years and years and years, but we try to focus on a solution because we're sick and tired of talking about it. I mean,
What
there's
else can we do? And the news isn't that bad. As a matter of fact, I thought I would say this till the end, but I might just put it at the beginning. Apparently, within the last 7 days, Bill Gates, I don't know if can I say his name? Is that or is that banned too? But anyway, he was doing an interview in Times Square, New York, and admitted that this. Well, let's see. I will be banned for this. The theory that whose initials are CC, we can call it just CC. I think everyone knows what that means. It has to do with the weather that's supposed to be changing. Yeah, well,
oh,
so he said he's becoming disenchanted with the whole notion of CC just in the last 7 days, and that maybe it really isn't about to destroy the planet after all.
oh,
Yeah,
really? Hmm.
yeah. Um, and I don't know that he's the only one. There have been some other indications from the WEF people that there may be trouble in paradise, the reverse paradise that they have. And their plan
Hmm.
isn't going as they had hoped. So, not that they don't have a plan B and a plan C and so forth. But before we get too far into it, I want to definitely acknowledge the creator. I was just reading today from Genesis, um, chapter 11, where the people after the flood decided to, and this was probably several generations after the flood. I'm not clear how many. They said, "Come, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." Well, that's what they were supposed to be, is scattered across the face of the earth and to be fruitful and multiply.
Exactly.
But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, and the Lord said, "Behold, the people are one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be withheld from them which they have imagined to do. Come, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." Does that seem familiar? I don't know. It does to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm oftentimes talking to a wall, talking to someone in a trance, and a- and as it happens, this issue, um, which we'll just call GE, um, which is also known as terraforming, I think, um, that we see in our skies with the tic tac toe designs.
Well, it's in our title there, so
Yeah, it is in our title, and for some reason, YouTube didn't choose to ban that part. and they don't ban a lot of the work of Dane Wigington, who has probably the definitive documentary about GE called the dimming, just the dimming,
Mhm.
and they don't ban Cal Washington with the Empower movement, who actually is kind of addressing solutions, and he's
Right.
even addressing a common law solution, and has been for a while. But you have to pay $150 a year for membership, and and then it's sort of a fill in the blanks and just crank it out kind of a deal. I don't know if he and Dan Wigington are working together or not. But before I get any further into it, why don't we put up the first 2 minutes? I think it's 2 minutes and 22 seconds of the Dane Wigington. It's not from the dimming; it's from the other one where he answers a lot of questions, including why.
Is it Hacking the Planet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's trying, and there's, well, I'll get into that later. The question is, why would they want to screw up their own environment? And we'll get into, what Dane Wigington anyway believes is the response to that, and which makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Okay, so
Can you hear that okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we got the scary music. All right. This, I think the first part, and this comes to us from an organization called tankerenemy.com. That's tanker, as in an oil tanker.
We're told
enemy.
This is all, quote, condensation that we see in our skies.
People try and tell you, oh, that's just water condensation. That's what that is. And this tells you how it's not.
We have aircraft leaving trails at altitudes far too low with far too low humidity to possibly produce any trail under any circumstances, and yet we see horizon to horizon trails, silvery white skies, everything we know we would get with geoengineering, we have. You can't turn a condensation trail on and off, even if you ignore all the data. Look up. We see these trails down 20,000 feet, sub 20,000 feet. The conditions necessary for
they would cut off the poison they're spraying, and then you can see that then you don't see the trail anymore. So if it was real, and that's how you tell whether it's a condensation or not. And anyway, there's a lot of information now, much more so than when we first started noticing this stuff years ago, showing that it's not just water vapor, which is going to disperse in a few seconds. This lingers, and it drops down on the planet, and they know what's in it. A lot of the substances have been found, well, certainly in the rain, and sometimes, I think maybe in the early days, just glops of it would drop onto cars and stuff, and they would analyze it. A lot of aluminum compounds, and so as a consequence, over the years, there's been aluminum poisoning of people in the form of autism, Alzheimer's, the prediction is that 1 in 2 children now will be considered autistic, which is, brain injured, and then 1 in 3 now, elderly people are suffering from dementia of some kind, which is associated with aluminum. There have been many other researchers that have blown the whistle. There's a Barry Trower, Trower, who was broadcasting, I think, with he broadcast a film called, basically that they about cooking the cooking of humanity was the name of it.
Wow.
Um,
Did you want to continue for a few minutes? He's talking about the United States patents on some of this stuff.
yeah, that's found in one of the other. Okay, was that in the video clip? Okay, it's a little further on. Okay, there we go.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
Senate documents.
they've been doing. Look at this. Look, they've been
these
giving.
programs have been going on for about 70 years at a large scale. Every single bit of science data, from the type of the engine to the atmospheric.
Since 1891, they got one of the first patents about weather modification. So they modify the weather, and they've been doing it. We haven't seen natural weather in a long time, and anyway, so they get patents, and the EPA people, of course, are part of it. They are pressured to not disclose, not to enforce anything in connection with stopping, the poisoning. However, it's like everything else. There's people behind this, people with names and addresses, and that can be served with documents. And we don't really care. I don't, if their job says that they have to do this or they have to do that.
Right. Right.
Okay, here we go. I think he's talking about.
You have to wonder, the people that are driving these planes, these pilots, I mean, taking orders.
What do they think they're doing?
They're taking orders. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's a paycheck.
That's what they're doing.
By governments that they thought were there to protect them. That day is coming.
Okay, now if you jump over to, I think it's the 37 minute mark, it's you can see the solution he sees, and it's the
this point
39. I think it's the 39
minutes of taking these materials. According to Norwegian researchers that we've worked with and communicated with, they're seeing horizontal gene mutation in all plant life. Word is traveling rapidly. People understand that something's very, very wrong in our skies with the climate, with the dying off of the trees, wildlife, frogs, fish, bats, birds. We're looking at biosphere implosion right now. We're swimming in a toxic sea at this point. What's happening inside us? These particles are endocrine disruptors. So the list of effects on the human body is immense, many of which are unknown. When we have an atmosphere, a breathable air column that's laden with toxic, heavy metal particulates.
I think we passed the part where he talks about what we're going to do about it.
Internationally recognized neuroscientists like Dr. Russell Blaylock, who spoke.
Okay, we're almost 38 minutes in. You think we passed it?
Oh, well, Maybe not. Okay, I'm seeing. All right, never mind. I was looking at the wrong number. All right, go
Okay.
ahead.
These particles enter straight through the lung lining, go straight into the bloodstream, adhere to cell receptors, cross the blood-brain barrier, do an unimaginable amount of damage to our system.
And so many people have dementia and Alzheimer's now.
It's not only
Yeah.
bioavailable,
I know
it's
it's related to
bioaccumulative.
aluminum.
It builds up in our system. It goes in, it doesn't come out. The bottom line is all of us are getting sicker by the day. We're firing on less neurons by the day. We're thinking less cognitively. 1 out of 3 seniors in the US now dies with Alzheimer's and or dementia. 1 out of 3 not dies from it, but dies with it. In the case of autism, also peer-reviewed study proves connected to aluminum exposure. We have autism going from 1 in 5,000 in 1975 to 1 in 47 in 2014. And now we have internationally recognized institutions like MIT stating on the record that in less than 9 years, we will have every other child with autism. Every other child. How many red flags does it take? The list of effects on the human body is immense, many of which are unknown. But what is known is bad enough. We face a fight for life. If every breath we take is laden with these particles, and the lab tests prove that they are, this is not theory, not conjecture, not speculation. Every breath we take is laden with these materials. We have a fight for life. It's time we face it accordingly.
Well, here we go.
The most critical question of all, what do we do about it? How do we deal with this situation? We must reach a critical mass of awareness. And people ask, what then? What happens then? The effort to reach a critical mass of awareness is how we've gotten this far. That's how we've acquired the attorneys that we have that are fighting for us right now.
There you go.
That's
Attorneys, they'll fix
for
it.
example, military personnel that have contacted me directly. I'm communicating with the former Air Force general, former Army Major General, people from other arenas that are reaching out to us right now. That's how that happens, by providing enough cover for those people to come out of the shadows and join us in our fight. When we reach critical mass, that's when the families of those involved understand what's happening and what their family members are participating in. And we can stop these programs from the inside out. That's the only way we can stop them. We can't go up against the US military. We have to stop these programs from the inside out by appealing to our military brothers and sisters. We must have them on our side or we have no chance. What does the common man do, or the common woman, to help in this battle? You start spot fires of awareness everywhere around you. You do that with credible data. You keep flyers, credible informational flyers with you, which are much more effective than pointing at the sky and ranting. That only makes people shut down. You can download flyers from geoengineeringwatch.org for free and print them locally. Color, glossy, two-sided flyers that are very effective. You can hold viewings in your home and invite people.
And that's not going to make people shut down.
So they can decide for themselves. You can contact agencies, individuals, organizations, ag groups, Alzheimer's groups, ADD groups. The list is endless.
And what are they going to do?
Credible data.
Yeah.
Stand around and hold signs?
Right?
Yeah. Haven't we seen that approach to other things?
Yeah.
Like the abduction of our children, our elderly, the prosecution of people for anything and everything.
So many protests, so many lawsuits, and look where we are today. None of it's stopping. It seems to all be getting worse, and it still floors me that people just want to close their eyes to it. They rather go on with their merry lives. They don't want to hear about it. It's disturbing their happiness.
Yeah,
I mean, they've got dinners to go to. They've got birthdays and Christmases and Thanksgiving and things to plan, vacations. They don't have time to talk about this. They don't have time to listen and look at what's going on. That's a shame.
Now, along the same lines, if you flip to the Cal Washington video, and we do, owe a lot to Cal Washington for introducing us to the 3-notice process. Cal Washington, last I knew, was a Christian man.
Yes, yes, he is.
And
God bless him.
And has been, taking heed of Matthew 18:15 through 17 to do the 3-notice process. Unfortunately, he's got expenses, I guess. And if you go to, if you pull up that link, there's some stuff down below that he talks about his basic approach, though, that it is disturbing. Did you see that, Luciana? The Cal Washington link?
Oh, okay. All right, we're back on. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Did you want to play that from the beginning?
I didn't want to play the Cal Washington link. I mean, we can post it on the comments, but I wanted to pull down underneath of it where there's he's talking about his approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where he says, and I may have to just look at mine. Okay, this is where he says, you can either battle in the streets or you can battle in the court system. Yeah, I didn't think he was doing that, but apparently he is. The most and Dane Wigington, yeah, we got to get the army behind us. We got to get attorneys. Now Cal Washington's saying we got to battle in the court system. And
he's still talking about the notices of liability in here, though.
He is. He is.
So, I'm not sure. Is he? So is he filing the notices of liability?
No, I don't think that he is, or at least he wasn't in the past. He was only serving them. But the problem with it is that he was saying, well, there's this thing called lex mercantile, which is, old Roman civil law. And then it's been converted into the Uniform Commercial Code. He's actually, that's the part that's disturbing about his 3-notice process, or at least back when I was more familiar with it. And when I started seeing it, I saw I don't want to be part of this commercial process, but I want to only involve people. And that part is, he does emphasize that common law deals with people, just people. He is big on that, and I commend him for that. However, the commercial process is not for people. The Uniform Commercial Code is not for people, it's for persons. And so, and then there is some other stuff, and I have not seen his 3-notice process for GE against GE. He says they've just started it, and they've got just a whole bunch of people, doing it. They did that for smart meters, and they did it for the whats. And I guess they get to talk about it on their channel, well, I see Cal Washington is not on YouTube. He's on BitChute talking about this. The first Empower notice of liability was to resolve the problems of electric, gas, and water smart meters. And then they've adapted it to other things, such as 5G, and GE. That's been very recent. But the problem I have is they're saying, oh, we're using your process. We're using your Uniform Commercial Code. We're using your Roman civil law. And I agree, yes, what we do, they have no common law court backing them up, by the way. None. So what they end up with is a contract. And so there's some issues with how do you really enforce that contract? And they've gotten a lot of people to resign from their positions.
Yeah. Cal Washington talks about that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people resign from their positions, after stuff we've done too. But that's not going to necessarily solve the problem. I think we have to get further down the road with it, and we have to not be filing it. We have to not be using their system. We're using God's system that happens to be consistent with what they do, but it's not what they do. So I don't like to call, our proof of where we've served this man or woman a bill of lading, for example, a commercial term. And unless I knew of their system, that's what they did.
What is that? I've never heard of that, bill of lading.
A bill of lading is proof that that something, a product has been delivered. And so when we serve notices, or when they serve their notices, they get bills of lading for it. Well, we don't.
Isn't two witnesses enough of proof that something's been served?
Yeah, it's proof of service, but they're not really doing service. They're doing delivery. They're doing commercial delivery of documents. See, it's a little different. They're not serving them. They are, but they're delivering them in a commercial manner, according to the Uniform Commercial Code, is my understanding of it. And that's why I thought it was important to deviate from that. And also he, at least at the beginning, of course, he's a Canadian, so he didn't really maybe understand the deal with the United States 14th Amendment, legal fiction persons, and that we're not legal fiction persons. We don't want to claim to be. We don't want to claim to have civil rights according to the 14th Amendment. That's a losing proposition. But he was doing that for a while, and I guess it worked for a while. But I think one of the first things they did was to fight the smart meters. Yeah, that was their first cause. And there have been a number of success stories. Okay. We have a smart meter template. Nobody has stepped up to use it so far. I have used it in another country with success. And then, the 3 notice process is basically the same, whether it's for the smart meters, for the 5G, for the JAB. And then apparently I have not seen the GE notice of liability. But
is that the last document that you had sent, Catherine?
The one that I sent you is our version, the one that we accept in Ohio Circuit Court of Record for the smart meter notice. Yeah, if you want to pull that up, we can look at that.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can, making it larger helps. So basically this is it can be modified to adapt to the fact situation, but the assumption is that you initially had a house that did not have a smart meter. So you had a contract for electric service. And then what they did was they decided, we're going to modify it unilaterally. No, that's called a breach. I I
Right.
had this contract with you originally for an analog meter, and I want to keep the analog meter. Yes, I get it that it's your property, but I have a contract right to keep what we originally agreed to, not for you to go switching around.
Yeah.
And one of the pretexts that they use to as a justification for trying to justify the breach of contract is, oh, well, we haven't been able to read your meters. And that always turns out to be a lie. And they're so silly. They'll even post the actual meter readings, and then they'll say, we couldn't read your meter, but wait a minute, I've got, how many, dozens of bills from you showing the meter reading that you
Right,
say
right.
you weren't able to read. Now, if you want to, I mean, in this one, there was an offer. Part of the notice involved an offer. If you say you can't read the meters, I'm going to offer to read it for you. And if you default, then you will have accepted the offer. And like ancient common law, contract law says, if you don't object, you've agreed. And that's true with any issue that we have with them. If they don't object, they've agreed. This is an ancient concept where they can agree by silence and they can agree by conduct. And some of the conduct includes threatening to disconnect service, threatening to use non-consensual smart meter installation, and one of the reasons, of course, there were the health concerns with the smart meter installation, but there was also the surveillance aspect, the illegal surveillance. They're actually videoing you. When you have a smart meter, they're videoing everything you do in your home. They're getting better and better at it. I guess it's based on heat sensing technology. So they know, when you're in the bathroom and what you're doing there and the bedroom and, when you're cooking and when you're doing this and when you're doing that. They don't just know because you're using the appliance. They're actually videoing you. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, we have the same thing, what you're scrolling through now. We define what an insufficient response is, and on the rare occasion they try and respond, it's always insufficient. And it's not like we didn't tell them in advance what to do to properly respond. And properly responding is, we have facts in our notice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Always.
to respond, and we state those facts under oath. Just like there's facts to support the harm that the GE does. There's facts that can be proven. And if they have proof to dispute those facts, they have to dispute them line by line and under oath. A corporation, of course, can't do anything under oath, but the people can. And that's another reason why we always in any 3 notice process is going to involve only serving people. And one of the things that we tell them too is that the authority of the people exceeds any authority from any corporate tribunal that they might try and invoke, or any government, so-called government agency, any commission, any of their private corporations, the Utilities Commission, for example. And in the case of GE, they have various international corporations or that have formed commissions to protect the people.
Yeah, and we should clarify that GE is not, we're not talking about General Electric.
No.
It's the GE mentioned in our topic, in the title of our topic.
Yeah. Although GE itself is no angel. They're quite well known for example, making a point to build nuclear plants on fault lines. So they make a point of doing that. And so we can get, after we get through this document, we can get into, well, why are they doing this since they live on the same planet?
Exactly.
Okay, so if the notice also gives them the opportunity to state a claim against the claimant, and the claimant would be any man or woman who doesn't want their home afflicted with a smart meter, or who doesn't want to be afflicted with the GE. The tic-tac-toe deals in the sky, the aluminum particles. And we know who is, some of the people at least, who are responsible for that. We might not know the names of the pilots, but we know the names of, it's my understanding that it's Air Force. And, you know, we have people who are running this operation, I'm sure, at Wright Pat Air Force Base. It's just a matter of finding out who they are and naming them too in their personal capacity. And, you know, they can figure out a response or not, and file and serve a claim of their own on us if they have any. They're given a specific deadline. Some people like to just ask questions or send notices or protest. You got to make it a specific deadline by which they have to respond.
Which is it's what they do in their so-called courts as well. They give you 2 weeks or 7 days or whatever to respond.
Right.
Just to certain things. So it's nothing strange.
Nothing
strange. Yeah.
And again, you know, I remind people that in our people's courts that back up this process, we'll get to that. The people's courts are admitted to be the true courts for all earthly law. And that's been since Bible times. It's also acknowledged by their so-called U.S. Supreme Court in Chisholm versus Georgia, 1793 decision, that the people are the source of all earthly law. So we certainly can do this, and other people in Ohio or other people in other state republics can do this as well. This is not something that's done through the state of Ohio or any of the corporations masquerading as courts. This is something that is done, and you can stop after the first or second notice if you get the result you desire. Or you can take it all the way to the third notice, and then you have a contract with them. And if that's not enough, then you can take the contract and ask your court of record, your common law court, to adopt it as a court order by default. Give them a fourth chance to rebut the facts that you laid out. What bothered me, go ahead. Are you there? Huh. Are we frozen? What happened? We're having some technical difficulties, folks. All right.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. What was I going to say? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in our common law courts, we give them 3 chances to respond to what we're saying and to the facts that we're bringing forward, accusing them of the crimes they're committing. In their so-called courts, they don't give you 2 and 3 chances, to respond. You've got 1 chance to respond, and if you miss their deadline, you lose by default. Is that not true?
You can ask for extensions of time.
Yeah.
Because they do like extensions of time, which is sort of disturbing. In the last several years, as we've been growing our court, I've noticed with Dane Wigington and his set of attorneys that they're still working on even getting something filed. They've got this legal alliance to stop geoengineering. And they're still figuring out how to file. They could be wrapped up in discovery for several years, and with the end nowhere in sight.
Exactly.
Our process, and when we did our first matter addressing the masking, we had it took us longer because it was our first time, but from the time we started with the notices, I think we were done in about 3 months. And it can be shorter between the time of first notice and the time of judgment, because we're actually giving them 4 chances, because when they default on the 3 notices, then the claimant will file in our court, in a real court, a petition to adopt the contract that has been entered into. Now, and this is the same as this part is the same. If you freeze it right there or back it up a bit, the same process as Cal Washington uses at Empower. The claimant uses 2 other people to establish that. One of them is to establish that the respondents were served, and the other one is to establish that there was no response. So, and we've never had any respondent complain that they hadn't been served. Now, if they bring in an attorney, we've got a paragraph for that too, and we use that in all our notices. And that is, if anybody tries to
is this the authority to amend and joiner fee?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right there.
So, no legal fiction person or corporation shall have authority to control any decision regarding the contract originally agreed to. No legal fiction person has any authority to control any decision regarding the future contract. So we remind them of that. And then if you scroll down just a bit, that if any respondent tries to bring in a third party, or the third party jumps in, then there it is. You agree that any representation statement, in other words, by that third party carries a joinder fee with it of $50,000 each time they attempt to join. And we had that happen. Well, we've got some pending notices now in another matter, and an attorney from state of Ohio's governor's office attempted twice to join, and that was after the second notice. I guess they got worried and we've informed him that he's just an entity seeking joinder, and since it's been twice, he owes us $100,000 if he wants to continue it. All right, so and then it's, if you scroll, through the rest of it, you can see this takes some time, but it's it's a longish document. It's not it's something that you have to understand why you're doing it. There's the restriction of jurisdiction emphasizes we're naming you as men and women, not as your job title.
Yeah, like they like to hide behind that. They say, I'm not responsible. It's my company.
Right. And so that's what Dane Wigington and his attorneys are trying to do. They're trying to wend their way through the regulations. And why doesn't EPA do something? Why doesn't, there's an international association, I can't remember the name of, that's run corporately through the corporate United Nations. And, why isn't this one? Why isn't that one? And then, well, you can't do this. And how do we prove this? And how do we prove that? And we, if they do this, then, well, if we say this, then they will, by doing that, they admitted this, and we'll use that against them. And we have to get a court ruling. No, you don't have to do all that. If you make the statement, and, you're going to make statements in good faith based on the ton of scientific evidence of the harm that's being done. And you give them an opportunity to rebut that. I know with smart meters, the only thing they ever had, which they chose not to use, the time I served one of these notices with smart meters, is that they had done some safety testing, I don't know, 30 years ago. But the safety testing involved thermal testing. In other words, if the smart meter could not be proven to burn your house down, then, of course, a lot of times it does burn your house down. But they had done thermal testing on it that suggested otherwise. They never brought that up in the 3 notice process I did with a smart meter. So I don't think they're real confident with that. That does nothing to rebut the statements we made about the surveillance that is unauthorized, about the health effects, about the effects on the environment. And, all of that is well documented, and they don't try and they're not foolish enough to try and rebut those things. Maybe they don't want to add, as I've said before, they might not want to add perjury to their list of crimes. So anyway, Dane Wigington is toward the end, and I don't know, have we played this one? I don't think we played this part yet. At the where he talks about his attorneys.
Is that the one we were watching?
Yes, it is the same one, but it's further. Maybe we did. Where he's talking about what do we do about it? And then his answer is, well, we just need more exposure, more people, and maybe the military will help us.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe, our attorneys are, going to get it together to file something.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very smart man, obviously, but his area of knowledge is not in how the legal system works.
Yeah.
And but everybody, it seems like folks that I'm an expert in one thing, therefore I'm an expert in everything else. I will be the first to tell you I am not an expert on the biological harm that geoengineering is doing, or the geological harm that it's doing. But I wanted to get into the answer that does seem plausible to me of why are they doing this?
Exactly, because aren't they and their families and their loved ones breathing in this same toxic
Yes,
junk that
right.
we're breathing? So why would they do this?
Yeah, okay. What he says, it's imperative to remember and consider that the agenda behind what is occurring in our skies is varied and complex. The planetary decimation is more accurately a consequence, not a specific objective. From climate intervention to mask the rapid warming of our planet, and apparently he's suggesting that the warming of the planet comes from all the, like the Fukushima, the Nagasaki, and the, all the detonations for purposes of warfare that have been happening over time, and no effort to clean up after that. None. They just move on to the next one. So apparently they think that they have to do this because they made the planet too hot. But back in the 70s, I don't know that I believe that. I remember on the cover of Time magazine, they were predicting a new ice age, and they'd already been modifying the weather since the 40s. Fukushima, not Fukushima hadn't happened yet, but Nagasaki and Hiroshima certainly had. And they were doing all kinds of testing in Nevada and other places. They were building nuke plants on fault lines deliberately everywhere. They don't build a nuke plant unless it's on a fault line. And there's plans to build about, I don't know, a bunch more.
To build a new what?
Nuke plant, nuclear plant.
Yeah.
There are many objectives and agendas being carried out at once, he says. Ultimately, all is about power and control. Well, we knew that. There's no benevolence, whatever, in the climate engineering insanity. Again, about what they would do why they would do this to themselves. Consider a cancer. And I would suggest that just as cancer is associated with parasites and the people who are doing this to us, and especially their masters, are parasites. So you can replace cancer with tapeworm. Does a tapeworm intend to kill its host? No. A tapeworm simply continues to expand and proliferate until the host eventually dies. That's the mentality we are dealing with. This is directly from him. The power structure does not consider the consequences of their own actions, even to themselves. They never have. They have detonated over 2,000 nuclear bombs, contaminating the entire planet, and they continue to construct faulty nuclear power plants, even though Fukushima alone has the potential to kill us all. And there are many other examples. So we're dealing with not just psychopaths and parasites. We're dealing with suicidal, insane people. So, as I think they used to point out to us when they were talking about the so-called terrorists from the Middle East, that when you've got an enemy willing to commit suicide, you've got a pretty dangerous enemy. But not everybody who works for them is suicidal. so that's why another reason why we have to address the notices of liability to the people on the ground, the ones who are running these operations at the military bases, the ones at the Environmental Protection Agency that had an opportunity to do what was right and didn't. There's so many people that directly or indirectly were aiding and abetting in this operation. Common law doesn't care about intent. That's why in our notices we do put the facts of that we know. The facts we know are the who, what, when, where, how, but not the why, because we don't always know the why or can't prove the why. But that's all right, because common law doesn't care about the why. All the common law looks at is the harm that's done. You were part of causing the harm, you're going to be responsible. Now, the criminal law gets into more, the intent to do harm. So, and if we get another 25 to 30 people, we can do common law grand juries, and then we can address the crimes that they're committing, because they are entitled to a grand jury presentment, a grand jury true bill, because of their Fifth Amendment to their Constitution. So that's basically, what I have. I feel like every broadcast we're redoing, we're saying the same thing over and over and over, and people don't want to hear it. I'm told, well, they don't understand that there's a solution, and yet every time we talk about, yes, there is a solution, or they're just too lazy to implement it. I was talking to a gal that, lost her child to the system, and, we were talking, and I was trying to help her, and I think she stood me up on a call because she was scrubbing a floor, and that really needed it much more than finding a solution to her trafficked daughter. I don't know. Fortunately, most people are not worth saving. Although most people are not worth saving, there's a number that are. And if they will wake up and realize that there is a solution, we don't have to wallow in the problem, then I would be more than happy to help them, and Luciana would be more than happy to help them as well. We've got a real court with 10 people on it. We could use more. We could use another 25 to 30, so we could have a common law grand jury too, so we could really bring some accountability.
And Catherine, I think it's been up and running now for 2 years, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I think we actually, we're going to have to look. I think I'm not sure. Yeah, I think tomorrow might make 2 years.
It's been more than 2 years. We had the swearing in ceremony on the 24th of September, 2021.
The 24th. Yeah. Okay. Just over 2 years. Wow.
Right. Yeah. If y'all want to go to our website, that's OCCR2021.com, and, look around in there, and we explain why we can do what we do, how we do what we do. You can see on the docket every case that's been filed and what they did before they filed in our court to establish liability through the three notice of liability process. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at the stream. Yeah, Keith comments, they always breach their contracts, of course. Let's see. I can't seem to pull down what Mike Lentini said. Can you see it?
He said one of the comments he made was the EPA was supposed to protect the environment and the government was supposed to protect the people and their property. I'm thinking they're not doing a very good job considering what's been happening with the environment and the fact that the government stole the people and their property. And he also commented stating that he used to be good friends with a nuclear engineer for Geo-E, who gave him, he says, who gave me my first glimpse of how evil corporations are. He told me that if he invented something at home on his own time, that they still owned it.
Yeah, right. Well,
because they said so, Catherine, because they said so.
Well, and also because by working for a corporation, you agree that during the time that you're on the job, that you will act as one of their slaves. You will act as a legal fiction person. But that should not mean that if you act on your own time, that you aren't entitled to, a man is worthy of his hire, even if it's self-hire on your own time. And it's the same reason that they are not able to threaten you with a injection, because that affects you as one of the people on your own time. Yeah, they can tell you what to do while you're on the job if you have bargained away part of your sovereignty and agreed to operate a, your all capital legal fiction name, which is the only way a corporation can deal with you. You can surrender that for 8 hours a day or whatever you do. But after that, you're operating as the natural man or woman that God created, and they don't have any, that's not their turf anymore. I just wonder why that always happens with, I can only see part of the chat of the live stream. Yeah, well, I would like to see more Ohioans stepping up to the plate, and all in God's time, I guess. And so just keep remembering that whatever the harm is that you're trying to fight, don't fight a bureaucracy. Serve notice on the people. Maybe you're wrong, but the facts out there, let them dispute them if they can. So we will help. All right. Well, anybody, if y'all have any suggestions about what other issues we should tackle, and there's still more problems that we can address. I thought this one was the biggie, and we'll tackle it. We will attack geoengineer, the people who are bringing geoengineering to Ohio. If anybody wants to step up to the plate and be the claimant, we will help you all the way through it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Catherine, for all that you do. You put a lot of time and a lot of hard work into helping. That's amazing.
Well, we couldn't do without your skills, Luciana. Okay. Until next time, folks.
And I'm putting up your contact information on the screen there.
Right.
You can always contact Catherine Hine. There's a phone number on the screen. It's 614-633-0215. And you can ask her any questions. She's almost always available. If you can't reach her at this time, try her again a little later. She's always makes herself available. And we're very blessed to have an attorney of 40 years who has resigned after realizing the truth of what's going on, helping us navigate our way through what I call hell.
Yeah, well,
I had a friend, Brian Kinter, that described himself as what was it? His tour guide. I'll be your tour guide through hell. You know, it's, you know.
yeah.
Jeez.
Well, tour guide out of hell.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have no solutions in their system.
Mike says, thank you for another great podcast.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike.
Thanks for
Yeah,
watching.
give me a call sometime. We'll, maybe we can get you on board.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. And until next Thursday, we'll talk to you later.
Okay. And God bless you all. And thank you for watching. Talk to you later, Catherine.
You too, Luciana.